Hi guys, Splatter Trigger here, and I just want to do this quick video with a slight introduction afterwards here. Just wanted to notify anybody who didn't know that this week on All Gen Gamers podcast, I was a guest. I was allowed on. It's my first podcast I've ever done, and I had a very nervous at first, but I had a blast doing it in the end. And if there's anybody who doesn't know about this podcast, it's basically headed by Gamester81, Johnny Millennium from the Happy Console Gamer Show, and Pete Dorr. And I'm very honored that they had me on there and they helped me through my first podcast. Like I said, I was a bit nervous doing it, but ultimately I think it came out pretty good. So if there's anybody who doesn't know about this specific podcast, I'm going to leave a link in the description box. Please, by all means, head on over to the site, subscribe to them on iTunes, and for any of you guys out there who were wondering what this third episode's about, well, it's a lot of work and design stuff, and that's obviously my passion. So please show your support and head on over there, subscribe to them, and stay tuned. And I'll have a little bit of the audio from the introduction. So take care, guys, and please, by all means, I can't say it enough. Support, support, support. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of All Gen Gamers. I'm Johnny. My YouTube show is Happy Console Gamer on YouTube, and I'm joined by John, also known as Gamester81 on YouTube, and Pete, also known as Pete Dorr on YouTube as well.
Hey guys, I got my new mic. I hope you guys can tell the difference. Well, maybe you won't be able to, but my audio's lower, and I got that new Snowball mic, so these two should have it soon, but yeah, I got the new mic. I'm excited.
Nice, and we're joined with our special guest this week, Ed, also known as Splatter Trigger on YouTube. Welcome, Ed.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be
Ed, why
here.
don't you kind of talk about your channel real quick, Ed? Just kind of briefly about your YouTube channel.
It's just basically a collecting channel right now, and slowly getting into reviews, and that's basically about it for now.
Yeah, and I love your channel. Your channel is awesome. It's really meant for more of a hardcore gamer audience out there. So yeah, just because you cover a lot of working design stuff, and that's an old fantastic company that we're going to definitely talk about today with you. It's going to be great. It's actually funny. Like the thing is, I'm a huge working designs fan, and I thought I was a hardcore collector of working designs. I thought it was pretty good until I started talking to you on YouTube and seeing your collection, and I was like, wow, I'm out of my league. I don't know anything about collecting here. It's crazy.
Before we get too far into it, how about we have Ed kind of introduce what working designs actually is? So, Ed, if you were talking to somebody that knows no idea what working designs is, like the whole idea behind this publisher, why don't you go ahead and just tell people what it is, basically?
Well, Working Designs was an American video game publishing company that ran from I think 1989 to 2005, and they specialized in bringing over a lot of import Japanese niche games, especially in the RPG and the shooter and strategy genres. What many people don't know, though, is if you'd like, do you mind if I give like a brief history of it?
Yeah, go ahead. Whatever you want to talk
Okay.
about.
Working Designs originally started as a computer accounting software company in 1986, and the founder ended up unexpectedly passing away. And he was finishing the program in code, and his recommendation was a man named Victor Ireland. And Victor Ireland was hired to take over, and after the software was complete, he struck a deal with the woman named Sylvia Schmidt, I believe her last name was, and she was basically like the financial backer of the company. And he had been a writer for a couple of video game magazines back in the day, and he was also like a translator for a couple of TurboGrafx games, like Dungeon Explorer 2. He was the head translator on, I believe. And he convinced her, and they started off with Kadash for the TurboGrafx 16, which was a Taito arcade. Was it like four characters or something? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. You guys remember that?
Oh yeah, great
Dash?
game.
Kadash, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a side view game. It was action RPG, and you could actually link two cabinets together to play that. I'm a huge fan of that old arcade game. They created Kadash, and then they did the translation for Kadash, and then what did they do after that? Was that the first game that they did? Ed?
That was the first game they brought over. After that, though, I don't know the chronological order after, off the top of my head, basically, but they ended up coming out with Parasol Stars, also for the TurboGrafx 16,
Right.
which was,
That was Tato. Yeah.
Tato as well. That was Bubble Bobble 3, if anybody knows. It was kind of like a one screen. What's the best way to explain it? Like it's just jumping and throwing like fruit at enemies, and once you kill all the enemies on stage, you move to the next screen. And each level was basically just like a screen, kind of like I would think akin to like the original Donkey Kong. And then they went on to the Turbo CD with Bastille, Cosmic Fantasy 2, Exile, and Exile 2 Wicked Phenomena, which all were RPGs.
Yeah. And isn't it funny when you think back, is that they went and translated those games, but on basically a platform that was dying, which is really unfortunate for working designs at that point.
Brian took it to that point because that was at the time that was the best format. He wanted to go into the CD format, and he was going with technologically wise, and he didn't want to. I think what it was the cost of the the carts at the time for like Nintendo and Sega were too much, so he decided to go with the CD-ROM format. And then after TurboGrafx died, he moved on to the Sega CD, which he brought over. What Working Designs became most popular for was Lunar, and then continued on with Lunar 2, and which obviously are both JRPGs, and at the time they were very groundbreaking titles. And I just wanted to make clear that Working Designs was a publisher, not a developer. They just ported over the Japanese games.
Yeah. So probably one of the most famous series that they published was Lunar, correct? Can you kind of elaborate on some of that series in general and kind of why it's so successful here?
Lunar came at a time when the JRPG theme wasn't so popular in the States. And, at the time it was just like you had just your Final Fantasy and whatever Square put out at the time. But it came out, it became an instant cult classic. Went on to spawn a sequel that Working Designs also localized over here. And then continuing on with the Sega CD titles, they went on with Vey and Popful Mail.
They brought out a lot of games, right? So it's hard to keep track of them a lot of times.
Yeah, off the top of my head here, there was only 4 in the Sega. Those were the only 4 in the Sega CD. And then they went on to the Sega Saturn, and they started branching out with their Spaz label, which I believe it was Sega Ages, which was a collection of updated and classic Sega titles that was brought out in Sega Saturn in Japan, and they did a kind of like a collection piece that they put out here.
Did they really bring over Sega Ages? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were the ones who brought it over, but they brought it under their Spaz label. They started branching off they created a new label to basically start focusing on like the shooter genre and platforming, and which would later on be carried onto the PS1.